So you might hear the rumble of thunder in the background of today's video because we're getting some stormy weather. But it is nothing compared to the storm that should be brewing in Buffalo regarding the Buffalo Public Schools right now. Welcome back, everyone, and if it's your first time here, just plain welcome. So it's been a little bit over a month since the Buffalo Public Schools said they were going to have a third party conduct an independent investigation. That means jack shit. It means jack shit because the last two independent investigations were conducted, the reports were turned in, and nobody knows jack shit. I'm sure the board does, but they're not sharing it with anybody else. And this time probably wouldn't be different. Unless, of course, that report wasn't negative. And let's be perfectly honest, I have reason to believe that that report won't be negative. See, I'm not the firm they picked. I'm not really trusting of it. Allow me to explain. I got tagged this morning on Twitter. Somebody like, hey, Tom, what do you think about this? Ed Dranch, the guy who labeled the unsubscribed guys as absolutely foul, a term that they and I have fully embraced. Even though he wasn't talking about me, these are my people. But Ed did a piece about how the school board had picked a law firm. It took them long fucking enough, but they finally did it. Good for them. The firm is named Rupt Falsgraf LLC, which sounds like an evil mad scientist or some shit. I don't freaking know. But it's apparently a Buffalo-based law firm, etc., etc. Now, the first question people asked was, who at this firm has a friend on the school board? And I, honest to God, couldn't tell you. But I did want to do a little digging into managing partners. Are there obvious ties with the school board? And I focused for some reason on David Falsgraf. But that was because in his bio, there's this interesting thing where he talks about being a trustee at the Nichols School from 2011 to 2017, where he served as the secretary. That was interesting because I know that name. When everything first started with Buffalo, I did research. I didn't have access to Nick's terrifying binder of doom. I needed to figure out my own. So I did a quick search on Buffalo School Coverup. Just for shits and giggles. Seemed like a good place to start. And I found that the Nichols School had their own cover-up issue. Now, this is a private school. Let's be clear here. This has nothing to do with the Buffalo school system because it is not affiliated with them. They just happen to be in the same town. Which really starts to raise a lot of questions about Buffalo, New York. Rich, I love you, brother, but your town sounds kind of fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, in 2018, a report was released that showed there had been a history of sexual misconduct by teachers and cover-up by the school. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Now, the report was first released in 2017, while Falsgraf would have probably still been on the board of trustees. Probably. I don't know what, he may have fallen off at the end of, at the start of summer, and this got reported at the end of the year when there was a whole new series. I can't confirm he was on the board when this came out. It wasn't released until 2018 in a slightly sanitized version that apparently just removed victims' names. That didn't need to be public, and I agree with that fully. I'm assuming that's all they did. I have nothing to compare it to, obviously. Now, the Nichols School said that all these allegations are the most recent allegation was at least more than a decade old. Okay, so far, so good. But there's an issue here because, see, David Falsgraf's a graduate of the Nichols School from 2008. Or it's not 2008, 1988, excuse me. He then went on the board of trustees sat there for 7 years. And these at least some of these allegations were quote unquote open secrets while he was a student. For example, there is Arthur Buddington, who started working there in the early 1970s, started off in like the elementary school grades, and then moved on to teaching high school students. Now, he admits to sexual relationships with two 17-year-old students. Okay, he admits to these relationships. He admits they were sexual. He actually had, this guy literally had a wall of pictures of female students. Right? They called it something like a monument to American girlhood or some bullshit like that. He had a fucking trophy wall of girls. It was considered an open secret that he had these relationships with these victims. And yes, I don't care if the age of consent in New York is 17, 18, or whatever. When you're a teacher and this is your student, there's an imbalance of power. This is skeevy as shit at a minimum. Now, Buddington left at the end of the 2005-2006 season, or school year, excuse me, not season, but that school year, because he was on a probationary status for this kind of bullshit. Right? This happened during this roughly the same time that David Falsgraf was a student. There was also E. Webster Dan. He had relationships with male students from 1977 to 2001. Again, within that front time frame that Falsgraf was a student. And he had multiple contacts, multiple relations with male students at this school. In fact, it was such an open secret, even parents knew about it and told their male children not to be alone with this guy. Why the hell do you keep your kid in a school where they're going to be freaking molested? Huh, parents? You got that one for me? Anyways, again, this falls into this. Julie Jones was a female teacher who flirted with students both inside and outside of the classroom from 1981 to 1997. She even invited several of them to her home for dinner. Now, we don't actually know if there was ever any sexual relationship with any of these male students, but, you know, it's still sexual misconduct. It's still wrong. All kinds of wrong. Then there's Donna Armstead, who reportedly had a relationship with a student, though she denies it. There is a assistant principal who resigned the day that the report came out because it was reported in the 1990s that this had happened and she did nothing. All through the report, there are times where the school did nothing to help. They were aware, they did nothing. Okay? Now, David Falsgraf, as a student, was powerless. I'm not going to say this is his fault, that he should have changed everything. But he became a member of the Board of Trustees in 2011. We don't see a report until 2017, and that report was precipitated by one of the victims reaching out. One of the victims raised a stink, and that's when things started rolling. It is entirely possible that David Falsgraf Jr. was completely unaware of what happened, even though it seems like a lot of his peers knew what was going on. But right now I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical because what we've got is a teacher, or we've got an attorney investigating a school system for covering up sexual misconduct, who went to a school that covered up sexual misconduct, and he didn't think anything about it. At least not until the end of his time on the Board of Trustees. I'm skeptical. I'm more than a little skeptical. What's going to happen to remove that skepticism is an examination of the Buffalo Public Schools so in depth that a colonoscopy feels like light petting. Okay? I'm talking they're going to have to take freaking gynecology tools, open things up, shine a freaking spotlight in there, and take photographs to post on freaking YouTube for the entire world to see. That is the only way anyone's going to look at this as being remotely credible. Yeah, and all the stuff that we know happened, right? We have evidence aplenty of problems. That's got to be public, along with a bunch of shit that hasn't been released. Now, I'm interested to know how they respond to Nick reaching out with the binder of doom information. I'm legitimately interested to hear how they respond. Because the only correct response at this time is, oh, please give me. I just don't think that's going to happen. And these kids are going to keep getting shafted by the school system that's supposed to protect them. It's just wrong. Just wrong on every freaking level. But I guess this is what we have to deal with. But, that's my take on it. What do you think? Am I reading too much into this history and these overlapping times? It is at best circumstantial. Am I reading too much into it? Or is this really just, not passing the sniff test for you? I'd like to know. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that stuff. If you want to support the channel, there are the super thanks. You can, help donate to help me upgrade my my setup to get something a little better, a little more professional. Otherwise, share it with your friends. That's also an incredible way to help the channel. But on that note, I am going to wrap it up, and I will see you all in the next video.